if you have a small and medium-sized business, you're like, all right, I need these little tips. And every time when we do one of these podcasts, I realize that something really sticks. And on the last one, episode 146, it was about why, once you get somebody into the middle of the sales funnel, the consideration stage, why do some not buy? And I never thought about a guarantee. And that last little bit that you put out there really resonated with me. And what I'm getting from listeners is Matt is kind of a humble guy and doesn't want to be the center of attention. I think that is, I went to a wedding over the weekend and the guy hated the center of attention and his brother just blew it up big. And I was like, this is great, right? So I want to do the same thing. And I kind of looked at that and I said, well, that was cool. He told all about his brother. I want to talk about you, Matt Hansen, because a lot of people want to know your thoughts on the philosophy behind business, and then maybe just a little bit of life philosophy, but mostly we're talking specific examples of what you could do and what you could not do. I got an MBA at Purdue, and I took Matt Hansen's classes, and they were extremely detail oriented. But let's talk about you a little bit and your why here. So Just give us your Reader's Digest, where you come from.
Oh, well, we can go a variety of different directions.
Well, where'd you grow
up? So I grew up in Lowell, Indiana, which is a little farm town. I think there was maybe 6,000 people in it. We got a McDonald's somewhere around middle school when I was in middle school, but didn't really have a whole lot of things to do down there. I grew up in a divorced family. My mother was remarried, married to a truck driver that was always gone. So she was always working. He was always gone. So I was one of those typical Gen X latchkey kid kind of things. But
what did your mom do?
She did a variety of things, but she was mostly in sales. So she did some local sales, and then she worked for a waste management type company, and then she worked for a plastics manufacturer where she did international sales until she died. So learned a lot of hustle from her, which was really kind of neat. She basically handled the last company that she was at. She basically handled all international sales, where they had maybe 3-4 other reps that handled just in the United States. So my 16-year-old Friday night could be sitting with her customers there used to be a place called Jolly Gingers over in the Radisson in Maryville, and we would go have dinner with people from all over the world. So it was really interesting growing up. We didn't have a lot, which was kind of interesting growing up. We had a 3-person family, but we had a Ford EXP, which was a 2-seater car where I sat on the luggage rack in the hatchback in the back for a seat. So it was kind of like a humble beginning. And, funny enough, I talk to my stepdad still to this day, and we kind of reconnected a couple years ago. And he goes, "Who are you?" And I started laughing. And he's like, "Man," he goes, "you are completely different from who you were when you were a kid." And I started laughing about that. And I'm like, well, I started getting an itch. There's things I wanted to do, and we'll call it a late bloomer. But played baseball in high school. There's a million things we could talk about. But my dad lived in Highland, so he wasn't too far. Ended up getting remarried and having another son, and so I've got a half brother and a stepmom and all these things. But yeah, and I've lost both my parents 10 years ago, which has, obviously caused some different things, but that's me in a nutshell. And I don't know where Jim's going to go with this, but I'm going to ride with it.
Well, I think what is emerging from this podcast is, we wanted to lay some foundation there, but the ways that you look at business and marketing are insightful. And I know that by doing this podcast has basically made my business better just by doing this. You could see from where you started to now, 147 later, other than the fact that I keep losing my best people to like national networks. I don't know what to do with that. But people tell me we play these podcasts on radio stations I own to kind of see what works a lot of times. And people will tell me that I'm in the driveway and I'm listening, and I appreciate his tips, but I really like the way he thinks about business. And so that's kind of where I think I want to, what I'm really trying to go at is how you approach certain things. But before we get there, I want to know what clicked and when you're like, man, I really kind of like putting marketing together and how it funnels down into the close and the sale. And, how did, what watching your mom had to be part of that.
Yeah, my mom was a unique individual. And when she died, I learned so much more about her from the stories that other people told me. And these were stories I had no clue, right? So people would walk up to me and say, "Oh, I remember Lorraine. She was wonderful. She did this for me." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Oh, well, I was struggling and I didn't have anything. And she went out and her and her sister went out and they did this for me." And I'm just like, "Oh, okay." We would go and buy 100 coats for children that needed coats in the wintertime, just on a whim. And I was like, okay, that's what we're doing today. All right. Just random things that she would do that nobody ever knew. And I heard all those stories. So then when I heard those stories, I realized like there's more to life than just hustling and trying to work your job and all these things. So you got to incorporate kind of these life lessons along the way. So have you read Matthew McConaughey's book Greenlight?
I have not.
So that book is I listened to the audiobook, but he talks about his life, how there's all these opportunities as you're going along. And the way he puts it is an opportunity presents itself and you can do one of two things. You can either ignore it or you can say, that's a green light, time to go, right? And it was really interesting to listen to that. So I listened to that years ago, and it started me thinking about looking at opportunities. And everything that's presented to you on a daily basis is an opportunity. It's whether or not you're going to pick it up and run with it. So let's go back to when I was in high school, and I was on the freshman baseball team. I maybe played 2-3 innings a game. I was playing in right field. I wasn't like I had just grown a foot over the summer. Like everything was awkward about me. And I didn't get to play a lot. So then I took that and I said, okay, well, I need to do better about this. I need to fix whatever this is because I love playing baseball. So I spent countless hours in the gym, in the cages and everything that next summer just to prepare myself for the next year. And ended up playing on JV and my average went up. By the time I was 3 years into my high school career, I was hitting 485 my junior year, which is, think of it, in 1 at every 2 at bats, you're almost getting a base hit. And I had learned to place a ball. I could see where the pitch was in the zone and I know exactly where I'm going to hit it. And I would literally stand up there and I would look at where the fielders were playing, and I'd pick a spot and I would lay it out there. Now think about that. Like you go from a freshman year where you're playing 2 innings, you're playing right field, to where I was starting at first base. I was doing, believe it or not, full splits to get that added length that I needed to get the outs, and could literally. They would put boxes in the outfield and I could put the ball through the boxes. So it was really interesting how that transpired. And then it was funny because my senior year, they ended up giving me the leadership award for the team. And we had some pretty good teams back then, but like to go from playing 2 innings to never sitting your senior year and getting the leadership award of the team and all this other stuff, like it just proved that you got to put in some work. You got to identify the opportunities. I've got the green light here. What is it going to be? Am I going to just sit here and not play? Or am I going to bust my butt? And I used to spend 3 hours a day in the cage just hitting balls. And I would say, all right, throw them outside now and just placing, right? And it's funny because I was 6'2", 200 pounds, and I'd step up and everyone's going to the fence. And I'm like, all right, great. I'm just going to drop them in front of you all day. And then they'd come up and they'd move up on me, and then I'd put it over their heads, right? And it was just fun to watch because I was manipulating things that were going on. And I took lessons like that and I apply it to business because I see everything is being done already. All you have to do is go out there and identify those that are doing it and just duplicate it. Like you're not like baseball has not been recreated in years. I mean, yeah, you can look at statistics and all that other fun stuff. I get that. But baseball is a very simple game, and business is a very simple game as well. It's just you have to understand the rules of the game and what you need to practice and what you need to implement, because if you do that, you're going to succeed. And people ask me all the time, oh, how are you so successful with the things you do? It's because I've done the homework on it. I work on it. I practice it. And when I don't understand something, I go out there and I learn it. If you look at my phone right now, there's probably 28 tabs open, and every single one of them is something that I'm going to go back to and learn, review, and understand. And I think that to me is life, is if you take the principles, the green lights, as Matthew McConaughey used to say, the green lights that are out there, and you focus on them and say, all right, I'm going to pick this up and run with it. You can't just assume. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's I have to put in the work, and I work all the time, but I enjoy what I do because I'm learning something new. And I'm, like I said, my 50th birthday is coming up. Have I stopped learning? No, there's a million new things that I want to learn, and I'm working on over the summer, and I'll continue to learn over and over and over again because things keep evolving. But with business, there are 3 other businesses around you that are doing just what you want to do, and all you have to do is do the exact same thing they're doing and practice that, and you'll be successful.
This is Matt Hansen, episode 147, and we're talking about Matt and some of his philosophies about life. That was actually very interesting, and I heard you say the word hustle several times. Mm-hmm. In 146 episodes, I'm not sure you said that word hustle, and you're framing it as your mom always had to hustle. Mm-hmm. And if there's anything, it's almost like dizzying to watch you operate, is it's like mass hustle all the time. How does that apply to the small and medium-sized business?
I would say don't go into business unless you have hustle, right? Business is not going to... Small business is hard. Let's be honest. I mean, it is hard because you don't have multi-million-dollar budgets and all this other stuff to kind of fall back on. And many times it's just you. It's just you doing it. So if you're not hustling, if you're not putting in the time, if you're just like, oh, I'm going to go, watch Netflix for the next 3 days and not work on my business, then you're going to get a business that's not being worked on. It's the same thing. We're sitting in the studio right now, and I look around at all the wonderful things that we have that we're working on, and this took time and effort to put this in, and you guys worked extremely hard to put it, to get it where it is today. I've done the exact same thing with the businesses that I've run and the businesses that I've worked with. It's the first question I ask people is, how much effort are you going to put into this? Where do you want it to be? And then, they'll say, oh, I want it to be so successful. And I'm like, are you willing to put in the hard work then? Right? All the businesses that I've worked on, all the businesses that I've owned, I've worked really, really hard on. And anyone that ever comes up to me, they're like, oh, I wish I was in your shoes. I'm like, do you? Do you really wish you put in all that work? Do you know how many times that I've injured myself or, gone through craziness, that most people wouldn't want to endure. Have you ever been broke? I have. Do you ever want to be broke again? No. It's probably why I hustle like crazy, right? Like when I met my wife, I was so in debt, and it was just stupidity that I had done in my 20s. And I've basically talked to my kids now, and I said, here's what I did and it was wrong, and here's what you're not going to do, and I'm going to teach you why. And it's all of those life lessons that you go through, but you have to implement them into your business, because if you just sit there and go, oh, it's good, it will always just be good. And it's funny because most of the people that I talk with on a regular basis don't go with, I have a goal of where I want to be. What they do say is, I know where I'm going, and I know I'm already there. And it's a mental mindset that you have to establish, right? So if you're sitting out there and you think you have like imposter syndrome, like, oh, I'm a business owner, but I'm not a good one. Well, if you say that, then you're right, you're not a good one, because you don't believe that you're a good one. And you can't be a good one unless you believe it. And again, I've done a ton in life. I've done a ton with businesses. And at my age, most people are probably sitting there going, all right, well, you got another 5 to 10 years, and then you're going to retire. I'm sitting here going, I'm looking for what I want to be when I grow up. What's the next thing? And it's funny because, I got gray hair and everything else, and, hopefully I don't have grandchildren soon, but most people are like, I'm winding down at that point, and I'm just sitting here going, what's the next green light, right? Like, what is it? And it's funny because every single day of your life, you're going to get about 3 opportunities, and which one of them are you going to say yes to and pick up and run? Because nobody is going to pick it up for you and run with it for you. You are the one that has to do it.
Implement life lessons into your business. You just said that. Mm-hmm. Explain.
So I failed at a variety of things, right? I think failure is the key to everything in life. Most people try not to fail on anything, whereas entrepreneurs, small business owners, even marketers, we are built to try things and fail. And we love it because we're always testing things. And I've said it before that I had a student that was an accountant one time, and she looked at me. She was taking my MBA marketing class, and she's like, I don't know how you can do this. And I said, what are you talking about? She goes, everything is always testing, always testing. She's like, I just want something that tells me what's going to happen. And I said, well, that's why you're an accountant. I said, if you're a marketer, that would drive you insane, right? Like if I wake up every single day and it's the exact same, I'm going to go nuts. I can't do that, right? Like I can't drink the same coffee every day. I can't have the same ice cream every single time. Like I need variety. I need to test different things. And if you're failing along the way, it means you're testing new things. If you've never failed, you've never tried anything new. Because we're always gonna fail, right? Like the first time you rode a bike, I'm sure you fell, you scarred up your knee, you did whatever. Nobody jumps on it and just takes off. And maybe if you're that person, congratulations, I'll find another story for you. But you have to fail to learn. You have to know that, oh, that hurts when I fall. And the reason I fell is because I didn't get enough momentum going, right? It's the same thing in business, that if you're afraid to fall, what's going to happen? You're going to think in your mind, I'm going to fall. I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to fail. If you go in there and you're just stupid about it, right? Like I love these kids that are daredevils and they just get on a bike, man, and they're gone. They're jumping ramps. They don't think nothing's going to happen. And I was that kid. I grew up in a neighborhood with 8 boys, and we did the stupidest things in the world. I mean, I broke, just in my own house, I broke 3 windows with a baseball in 1 week. So my family loved me. But it's stuff like that. Like you've got to fail to learn along the way. And I can give you probably 500 examples of things that I've failed at that have brought me to where I am today, that I've learned lessons to go, all right, don't do it that way, do it this way. And I think when you look at other businesses that are out there that you're trying to emulate, they've done the failures. Go talk to them. Go figure out where they failed and what they learned from it, because that may save you one failure. And you may actually learn it from them without actually having to go through the fail.
He's Matt Hansen. This is episode 147. If you guys you want to hear more Matt Hansen philosophy, just attitude toward business, email me at jed@wjob1230.com. Also, we're starting to take some little interviews with people that are in business, especially if you're in a small to medium-sized business or you're in a marketing department. We'd love to talk to you. It seems like marketing people, I think sometimes you're afraid that we're going to expose your secrets or whatever. We won't do that. We just want to know how you think. But I have so many questions about all of this. But the main question is, you know who Simon Sinek is, I'm sure. One time he spoke here at Purdue, and I was sitting there studying for your class, and I'm like, that's Simon Sinek who just walked by, and they had a special business club meeting. And this was before he was massive, but he was almost there.
Right.
And I think they booked him like 6 months ahead, and he would have never taken it at the time. But I got to go in and talk to Simon Sinek. People are waiting, and he was just so enthused about talking about what you can get accomplished in life. I wish I could bottle that energy. And I get that same feeling from you, is like anything's possible. But, you got to follow certain methods. So I want to go back to Simon. And Simon talks about, this is why I do these self-help things and blah, blah, blah. But he came back and he goes, what is your why? Mm-hmm. And it's always comes back to that with me. Why? And I gave a talk the other day. It's all about mission. Here's the mission first. So this is the consummate question is, what is your why?
I think my why goes back to my mom and the fact that she made a difference in the world by helping other people. And I think that's why I became a professor. I think that's why I do this podcast. I think that's why I work with companies. I want to help them because somewhere along the line, I've generated some knowledge that I can share. And I don't think that knowledge needs to be hidden. Like, again, I go back to the things that my mom did that nobody really knew. What I'm trying to do is, I guess, unmask Matt Hansen and say, hey, I'm here to help. And that's when I came to you to do the podcast, I'm like, it's time. Like, we need to unmask it. We need to share these things with people, because all I ever hear is, and I heard it this weekend, my son's best friend, he goes, man, I would love to take your class. And he's in the West Lafayette.
It's hard, dude.
He's an engineer.
It's God, remember I was in Hartford, Connecticut doing my final, and that was so stressful.
Yeah.
So let me talk to that kid.
Yeah.
Right,
well, but that's what I mean. Like, people always say, I would love to just sit down and pick your brain. And that's, I think the biggest thing is, my why is I need to help as many as I possibly can. And that's why I do this podcast. And that's why I do a lot of the things I do.
Let's call that a day. We have to once again say to our producer, this is 147th episode, and we're losing Joe Cimino. And I don't know what to say, Cimino. This is your last moment of actually producing here. How do you feel right now? Of any podcast, of any radio, of any TV show, this is it. So how do you feel?
I don't know. I don't know if I feel anything yet. I don't know if it's necessarily set in. But I don't know. Just wanted to say thank you to both of you, especially you, Jed. Obviously, you're my boss, and you've done a ton for me. And I wouldn't be in the position I am without you. So thanks to both of you guys. And once I start feeling emotions, I'll let you know, but not right now.
Well, there's part of my why.
There you go.
How's that sound? Hey, until next time, we'll see you later.